Power utility Eskom says it will be able to keep the lights on during the coal sector strike. Power stations have enough coal stockpiled for 38 days. But management at the power utility admits a protracted strike could place strain on its backup plans. Eskom has warned that some power stations may not function at full capacity if coal stocks are low. Joining us now is Sullivan Energy Analyst Cornelius van der Waal. Cornelius, good morning. Welcome to Morning News Today. Should we start pressing the panic button or will our lights stay on?
Well, Colin, I think for the next 2 weeks or so, the lights will most likely to remain on, certainly in terms of the coal stocks. But certainly this cold weather that we're experiencing at the moment might be more problematic. We know that the installed capacity in South Africa is reaching its limitations, and certainly if there's a big spike in energy demand over the next couple of weeks, that could be problematic. But certainly I think from a coal stock perspective, Eskom's got at least three to 4 weeks worth of stock that they can move fairly easily. After that, it becomes a bit more problematic, but I don't think that the strike will last that long. We know that the strikers on average bargain to try and strike for no longer than 14 days, so let's hope that it's all sorted out before then.
If it is prolonged, how detrimental will this be?
Well, it could be extremely detrimental because more than 85% of South Africa's electricity is generated from coal. So should there be a situation where after 3 weeks we don't see new coal stocks rolling in, then that will certainly have a significant impact. Obviously, Eskom's got contracts with some of its large industrial end users that they can terminate their supply first. But in the long run, or the sort of 4 to 5 weeks' time, that will then start having an impact on residential end users and normal commerce as well. So it could be hugely disruptive. And obviously the strikers are using this as a leverage when they negotiate.
Which sort of industries will be hardest hit should the coal miners decide to go on strike? We know that you've spoken about households and certain organizations and companies that are contracted to Eskom. However, which industries will feel it the most should the strike take place and be prolonged?
Well, certainly the metals beneficiation sector is a huge consumer of electricity. The mining sector at large is probably the largest consumer of electricity in South Africa. But certainly the likes of the petrochemicals industry will be hard affected, the normal chemicals industry, and then after that, commerce industry, everybody that's dependent on electricity to continue their operations.
The unions have argued that workers work in unhealthy and unbearable conditions and they're getting the least paid, they're getting still miserably low wages, and there's a huge disparity between what the executives earn as well as those that go to the belly of the earth. How do we bring this closer and closer to each other where they can find an amicable decision where it is fair enough to pay workers but also to make sure that the executive are also paid for the work that they do?
Yeah, in South Africa, that is obviously a very big challenge. We know that the divide between the senior management and the workers on the ground is significant. But this is not only a South African problem. This is very much the case in places like Brazil, in China and India. It's certainly increasing as well. This is a global phenomenon, and I don't think that we in South Africa will be able to address that in isolation. It is something that needs to be taken up in global forums and need to be discussed, because certainly the discrepancy between pay at the highest level and the lowest levels is significant.
Is this an industry that can afford a prolonged strike, or should there be concessions made from both sides?
Well, I think concessions should be made from both sides. I think we have to be realistic, and we have to look at the numbers and see what have the profits been over the last number of years and what do we expect commodity prices to do over the coming year or two. And based on that, then come to a conclusion that this should be a partnership and not necessarily a position of conflict, and try and negotiate a position where both parties are flexible in terms of accepting either longer hours or less hours or more inputs from management side in terms of the strategy that they want to achieve. I think we need to find a middle ground, which is going to be difficult, but certainly through open and honest communication that can be achieved.
Thank you very much. That was Sullivan Energy Analyst Cornelius van der Waal.